You're listening to The Dan Nicholl Show.
On the Dan Nicholl Show this week, an almighty dose of nostalgia as I go back to, well, not quite my childhood, but not far out of it. And one of the first superstars I got to call a friend. She would probably say acquaintance at a stretch, but someone who over the years I've had a great deal of fun with, but also have had to have a lot of therapy because of. For this is the person who took great delight on social media in repeatedly referring to me very affectionately as Knob. I suspect she probably still would, given half the chance. I am absolutely delighted to be reacquainted with Kerry McGregor.
Hello, Dan Nicholl. So good to see you. How are you?
I am good. I'm very annoyed because you do not look any different to when we first met 20 odd years ago on assaulted dance floors in Cape
Oh,
Town.
I so appreciate that. I'm not entirely sure that that's too accurate, but thank you very much.
And in fact, it is dance floors that spark a particularly cool memory. This might have been one of the coolest elements of my coming towards the end of university, starting real life career. And I don't know if I ever told you this story. There'll be many worse ones to come. This one you don't have to be too worried about. We were, this would have been my early 20s, so you were probably about 18 at the time. No, you're a little older. We were out for the night. There was a newly opened bar, Billy the Bums.
Yes.
Our mutual friend Robbie Fleck was involved with, and
yes.
Bob Skinstad and Corne Cricher.
Right, I remember that very clearly, yes.
And there was a spell where, for some reason, we kind of ended up in the same places a lot, and we had a lot of great nights out. And there was one particular night where you and I took to the dance floor and absolutely destroyed it. This was obviously very cool because here you are dancing with the hottest name in South African modelling and swimsuit. I think you kind of saw me as Madonna saw Elton John. There was certainly nothing of a romantic persuasion. We just had a great deal of fun, and you were almost as good at dancing as I was. But I had not that far before broken up with my university girlfriend, and there'd been various people who'd seen the two of us dancing the night away and having great fun. It was just two mates having a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
And I get this message from my ex-girlfriend the next day. Are you dating Kerry McGregor? Then Kerry McKenzie, who of course Swimsuit edition model and cover of magazines.
Oh, no.
I didn't reply for 4 days.
Oh, so you left her hanging.
I did.
That's so mean.
Well, partly I didn't have any airtime, but it was those were the early days of what was kind of the start of me meandering into the media world and having loads of fun, but also you kicking off as somebody who'd gone from a cool high school girl to suddenly discovering the world was really excited about who you were, and the start of this extraordinary career. And what I think, as I look back through the haze, were some pretty crazy and mad days of flying around the world and discovering modelling and magazines.
I tell you, it feels like another lifetime ago somehow. Obviously now I'm been married for 18 years. I've got 3 kids. Life is crazy, but you're right, it's nostalgia. I think back on what my life was then and how different. I mean, listen, we still do an enormous amount of traveling because Neil's obviously still, obviously from his professional cricket playing to coaching so we still do a lot of traveling, but definitely doesn't have quite the same impact, when you aren't doing that traveling entirely for yourself. So that little bit of independence, I suppose, that you lose. But geez, I did have some really good trips and some really good times traveling the world. I was very blessed enough at such a young age. And I actually think I wish I'd had the opportunity now to experience what I did then and appreciate it. Because I think when you are that young and you're traveling for work, you really feel like you're in and you're out and you just want to get going and you get home to your families, not really appreciating every place fully in its entirety that I would do now had I had the second chance to do it,
Because it was some extraordinary travel, and you were off to islands on shoots and off to New York on catwalks.
Yeah, I mean, I had agencies in London and Amsterdam and New York, and I was everywhere. I was in Cuba for jobs, and I'd fly straight from Cuba to London, and then straight from London back to the Bahamas. Or it was a crazy kind of. I mean, listen. Unfortunately, I had the green mamba, so the South African passport only gets you so far before you have to return home, get a new visa. So I was always kind of dropping back in, but. yeah, it didn't stop, there was a 3 or 4 years where I just was on the go the whole time. And as I said, I think based on that, and I was just obviously very tired half the time as well. We have 4 a.m. wake-up calls and first light pics that need to be taken and last light pics. So the days are long. I think it can appear more glamorous than it is. I think that's also the reality.
Yeah,
of
you're
it.
getting no sympathy here. You got to travel the world and in first class, paid vast amounts of
I don't
money.
think there was ever first class involved, but yeah, it's just I wish I had the opportunity to maybe redo it and have let's say wisdom in my age. Mild age.
With great restraint, I shall refrain from commenting therein.
Exactly.
The supermodels talk about the breakthrough moments, and there are all sorts of stories. How somebody was spotted walking down a street or sitting on a beach, and next thing they know, they're in a guest campaign. I think that was Minky's story there. People have these different breakthrough moments. I think your big breakthrough moment is being spotted by the southern suburbs tackler dancing with me. But what was the one that really made that breakthrough that took you into the big time properly?
I think when I started modeling, I was about 14 or 15, and I was with a kiddies agency, because you're not, I suppose, legally allowed to be working for an adult agency until you're 16. So when I hit 16, I joined my agent, who is still my agent, actually. I mean, it's been, 25 years, sure, but, and there was a scout from Paris who was here and scouting young girls to go over and, and do work in Paris. And he was like, yeah, let's go. So off I went during my school holidays, because I was still in, I don't know, what's it, grade 11, standard 9. And off I went, and it just kind of catapulted really quickly from there. It was spending time in Paris and then coming home and writing exams and then going back to Paris. And I think the big thing that happened in South Africa, which kind of, I suppose, elevated me, was probably the swimsuit edition, the South African swimsuit edition that was so big back then.
It was massive.
It was massive. I mean, that was like a feature that was really quite elite at the time.
Look, I only bought it for the writing. I thought there were some very good sports stories.
Articles, right.
The coverage of South African lawn bowls was exceptional, and a full-size cutout poster of Kerry McGregor was purely incidental.
Yeah, it was just bonus material,
exactly.
Right? Yeah, so that was probably it. And then from there, the Wonder Bra campaign that I landed, and I think those two elements were probably the real big thing that kind of, hit the mark for me as a starting point. And I held the Wonder Bra campaign for about 5 years. So it was a really kind of special campaign for me, and it's been a while since then, but yeah, that's probably what it was, I reckon. And then it just, it flew. It really did flew. It was amazing.
Did you ever have time to appreciate the strangeness of it all? The fact that, right, I'm walking a ramp or shooting a catalogue and then dashing off to finish my biology assignment instead of slugging down champagne and having my weekly meal with all the rest of the models.
Yeah, no, it is a bit surreal, a surreal experience if you kind of, you think about it. But it felt quite normal, felt quite natural. I had to do what I had to do. My parents were incredibly supportive. So at one point, there was talk about me not even finishing school in South Africa and kind of doing a correspondence while I was in Paris. But I was very adamant. I wanted to experience my matric year especially. I wanted my matric dance. I wanted those memories. I wanted to have that in the bank. I didn't want to miss out on any of those things. So I finished school, did what I needed to do, and then as soon as the holidays hit, I was gone again. And I was in New York, and I spent, a couple of years on and off in New York, and then in Amsterdam. And by this point, I've now met Neil, and he's traveling. So I would just grab an agency wherever he was. So if we were in Amsterdam or The Hague, that's where I got an agent, and I just did my work, and I did my castings, and I kind of kept my life, my work rolling wherever I was. I suppose that's the beauty of the industry. You don't have to be anywhere. You can be everywhere,
And you've got that kind of calm, happy-go-lucky element to you. You're not the traditional Naomi Campbell in that sense.
Diva-esque.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, I've seen some of it, but...
You lie.
I remember they bought you non-vintage champagne once for breakfast, and you threw an absolute tantrum. But you're not, you don't fit into the mould in so many ways. When here's somebody who could have been in Barbados and instead decided she wanted to go to Matric Rage, and you've been very grounded in that sense.
Yeah.
The family's a big part. I'll come to that in a sec. But I remember, I think it was an interview with Vogue where they had a series of models asked about, what do you look for a guy? And with most people, it was, a great Dan Nicholl like six-pack or chiseled physique, eyes I could fall asleep beside. And yours was very clear. You said, I will only marry a man who can hit 3 consecutive deliveries to the cover boundary for 4 with elegance and panache, which was, of course, Neil McKenzie.
Yeah.
That was, I think we got to know each other just before Neil drifted onto the horizon.
Yes.
And then once he had, you could have set fire to buildings next to you. You wouldn't have noticed because you were just staring in love at this great cricketer.
Shame.
It's a wonderful
He's
story,
a keeper.
that. Oh, he is indeed.
He is a keeper. I mean, we met when I was 20, and it's now a little after 20 that we're still together. I mean, I always said that I needed a man that would make me laugh. That was it's a big thing, and he did just that, and he's done that for 24 years. So still light buildings up next to me. We now just have 3 beautiful kids who drive me absolutely crazy. But we are one big happy family. It's awesome. Life is very good.
And it'll give a lot of people a great deal of comfort that even you have to deal with the terror that is children.
Children, sure. I mean, listen, my kiddos Luke is 17. He's going into Matric next year already. I can't believe I have a 17-year-old child that's just written his learners, I don't know where the years went. Where did the years go?
They fly by.
Right? It's crazy. Anyway, so 17, 15, and 8. And they're all amazing. But
do they have an understanding of who their mum is, what you did? I say this in all seriousness, that you an iconic figure for many South Africans over a period of time, where this was Kerry, who was the cover of our favourite magazine and popped up all over the place, one of our great exports. Have they got a sense of just how cool their mum, I was going to say was, but I shall stick with is?
Oh, thank you. I don't know. I suppose you'd have to listen. Actually, I think Riley, my oldest daughter, who's 15, she understands. I suppose it's these teenage years are also quite wild, and she, I think social media as well these days has kind of transformed the industry so much, that it doesn't have quite the same effect. I mean, listen, you have beautiful girls, beautiful people, all over the place, but this kind of social media that transcended on the generation, it removed the what's the word I want to use?
There was a mystique, a barrier between you and the world.
For lack of a better term, almost elite back then. You had this supermodel era where there was this handful that, everyone saw everywhere, on every publication, on every media board. That was kind of who you saw. Whereas now it's a lot more, and actually it's great. I think it's a lot more diverse. It's a beautiful thing, I suppose, as well. I think maybe if that was when I was working, I could have maybe even expanded a lot more, a lot quicker. I mean, now it's all about influencers. It's not so much about the celebrity status. It's not because you were an actor or a sportsman or a model. Now it's just you can have celebrities that are influencers, that are
famous for being famous.
Millions and millions of followers. And they've just built it up from a social media page. It's crazy.
I think you were at the right time. I think you fitted in
Yeah.
there rather nicely.
I did, thank you.
And
I
did
appreciate
extremely
that.
well. Were you, because you mentioned the sports people, we often have the sports people saying, I wanted to be this person when I grew up, or that person. Was it similar in the modelling world? Did you think as a kind of, oh, I'd love to be Linda, or I'd love to be one of these big names? Was
Yeah,
there
I
that
think
kind
I
of
did
role
have
model?
aspirations, with a lot of the international girls. But actually, I had a local aspiration. Teresa de Klerk was... I absolutely adored her, and I remember my first Sports Illustrated job, the trip. I think we were in Thailand. I stand to be corrected, and she was there, and she was, I think, about 5 or 6 years older than me, which was incredibly significant at the time when I was 17 and shooting my first feature, and she was just the most divine, and she is. If you've seen her, she is so beautiful. So I would say from a local perspective, she was just I was in awe. I remember seeing her for the first time. But yeah, you do. I suppose it's good to have that. It's good to have people that you look up to and continue to aspire to, and I suppose I always try and do the best I can for my kids, just being able to kind of make sure that they look up to me in that way as well. I suppose less bikini, more, maternal, but yeah.
Because it is a very different world, and the lens through which we would have seen something like a Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition, very different to the world we live in now. Our parameters have changed a lot. Our understanding, appreciation, our feel for what's right, what's wrong, I think has differed a lot. How would you see something like a swimsuit edition as it was then in the world we live in today?
Wow, that's a question. I do think that in America they still run the feature. I've stand to be corrected.
They ask me regularly. I'm just very busy.
I think what I've noticed with the American feature is that it's become very inclusive, and I love that aspect. I love that not everyone is a, perfect size to perfect boobs, perfect body. It's imperfectly perfect to feature all different kinds of women. Because the world is full with all different kinds of women. So I love that has become so prevalent in the industry, is, to make sure that you are including everybody. It's important to represent, to feel represented, to feel acknowledged. So that is, for me, one of the things that I think has been amazing now in terms of what we used to have back then.
We're both parents. My kids are a touch younger, because obviously I'm much younger. My daughter, Erin, she was 10 until last weekend when she turned 23. She'll be at home.
Welcome to the tween years.
She leaves next week for a convent in Switzerland until she's 35. At which point we'll start talking about the first conversation she's allowed to have with a boy. Or when you look at the industry that you were in, is it one that you would happily send your kids off into? And if so, what would the warnings you send them off with be?
I think that if Riley ever did want to, or Miller for that matter, want to get into the industry, I would become the loudest helicopter parent on the planet. No, listen, I think there's, the industry is it can be a very scary industry. And at the end of the day, you have to have a pretty thick skin, because, you can go to castings and you can go in to see photographers and go-sees and do all these things that you need to do. And you may get 1 out of the 10 jobs that you kind of cast for. It's not a given. If someone gets really lucky like I did, things just started to happen without me even needing to do those things, But it's a hard journey up front, and for some can be a hard journey throughout. So it's really important that I be very present if that is something that she wanted to do, and just be able to kind of guide her through the process and remind them that it's not a personal thing. It's that client at that time needs something specific and you weren't it. It's not a personal attack. It's not about your personality. It's not about any of those things. They were looking for a blonde or they were looking for a brunette, and that just wasn't you. You didn't fit the bill for that job. So that's kind of a really important message for all the girls out there really that are looking to get into modeling, is to just make sure that it's not personal. It really is what they need. It's the look they need at the time. And if you weren't it, there's the next job and there's the next job. And you just got to keep working at it, But it can be a very scary industry. And I think I would need to be very present if that's something that she chose to do.
And I'd imagine the self-confidence, the belief you need to have in that here's a job where, right, you've got to go and stand in front of some people in your underwear, and just by looking at you, they will decide whether or not you're good enough. And as much as you can say, well, I'm just not the right person for this particular space, it's got to. You're human.
Yes.
It's got to speak to you as you walk away going,
what was wrong with me?
Here I am, standing in my underwear, and they've told me I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
That's got to be easy to deal with.
It takes, I think, a certain amount of self-confidence, but also just knowing your value, knowing your worth. It's not entirely in your appearance. And it's important that, and I've made sure that I've tried my very best to give my kids that message. You have self-worth, and your value goes far deeper than the surface. So just, if that is something that she wants to do, I just need to make sure that I'm constantly reassuring her or them that is the case. You are valued, you have self-worth. Remember that that's how you were raised. That's the best I can do, I suppose.
I know you and Neil well enough, so I think the kids are in pretty good hands.
Well, thank you. That's very sweet.
As a last one on kids, have any of Luke's mates found copies of the Swimsuit edition as 17-year-old teenage boys?
Oh my God, he's going to hate me. No, he, listen, we had a conversation with him once. I don't know, he's in a hostel, so he boards, right? And I think Neil and I asked him once, like a year ago, have the guys ever given you gears? Just kind of given you gears about dad and about me? And he's like, no. He's a very quiet, like kind of unassuming kid. He's, super humble. And he was like, oh, no, Ma, no, that all seems good. Happened to bump into someone, I don't know, a week later, and we were chatting and having a laugh about it. And apparently he was getting gears quite a lot in the beginning and just chose not to tell us. I didn't ask any further questions on that. I'd really rather not know what they said. But yeah, I think, his friends know who I am. Riley's friends know who I am, know who Dad is, As I say, there's also social media. So I've got a couple of her friends that actually, Riley's friends follow me on social media. And she also hates that, but it's very funny. But yeah, so it's just the nature of the beast, I suppose.
Look, I know the pressure. I see the Saheti mums in their activewear undressing me with their eyes across the car park at morning drop-off. It's just something we have to deal with, unfortunately.
We have to live with these things, eh?
We could spend hours just talking about this career, and for me the bit that's really cool is all of the travel and the experience and who that shaped you as a person. But much as the sports guests we have do sport up to a point in time, I know you're still doing some modelling, I see you pop up now and again, but you've also got another passion and a discovery that you have not just a talent but quite an extraordinary talent at making things look almost as good as you do, and that is interior design.
Yes.
The world that is Reveal.
Yes, Reveal Designs is my company, and I started doing some interior design in Joburg when we were still there, and I started the company in 2016. It was trading under a different name at the time. So when we relocated to Cape Town, I almost did a bit of a relaunch, and I love it. It's not something that I actually ever studied. It's something that was almost, I suppose, self-taught and inspired. It's something that I really enjoy doing. I mean, I love making beautiful things look beautiful. I love surrounding myself with beautiful things. And when we got to Cape Town, we did a massive renovation, which almost broke us, Neil and I. It was just...
You started an Instagram account around that, didn't you?
Yes, we did. And we kind of, did the journey through the renovation. And I mean, we really gutted this place and started it in
Look, as 8-story homes with indoor waterfalls and helipads, it was certainly impressive. Very understated.
No. It was definitely not 8 floors. But yeah, it was a hell of a journey, and I loved it. I think when you're doing your own space, your own house with your own budget, things become very different to play with. But Yeah, we loved it. The house is beautiful. I'm very happy with it. And as I said, relaunched Reveal in Cape Town, and have done a couple of corporate spaces. And yeah, just looking to keep that going as well as something that I love doing other than modeling and other than, being a mom. It's something that kind of ticks my creative box. So yeah, I'm loving it.
And I suspect it's one of those things that without realizing it, you would have picked up an eye for over the years, from working in beautiful spaces, from hanging out in cool places, because I've seen your riders demanding 6-bedroom penthouse suites at every hotel you ever booked in, but getting a real feel for some of the great spaces of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I love architecture. I love design. I love that creative space, and I love submerging myself in it. I mean, just kind of, just reading all these. I used to buy all the magazines, and now publications are kind of dwindling. So now you surround yourself with all the social media and just inspiration on pics and images and accounts that are just very inspiring for this kind of niche. And and I love it. So I'm very, very happy to be doing this as an extra in my life. It's great.
So my very long-suffering wife has insisted that it's time to redecorate my office at home, which is covered with, I think, very tasteful, some posters from a wonderful magazine called Scope that I think you just missed out on, which
Just
would have
needs
been
reframing.
heartbreaking. So what in mid-2025 would be the look and feel that a dashing, globally iconic media type like myself should be looking for if I could afford the 9-figure retainer for Reveal to drop
Just
by for an afternoon?
Fly me up. I'll come have a little squiz. I'll sit with Wifey, and we'll work some ideas together.
Well, that is very worrying,
board.
because I know you two. You'll do no work, and my cellar will be half empty by the time you've
That
finished.
is so true. Actually, let's go to the cellar and redo that, shall we? Let's make space.
Look, it would be lovely to sit down with a bit of wine and also have you influence my wife in a positive way, because she has very few flaws. I think the two chief ones, one, she's got terrible taste in men, but the other is that despite my best efforts, and gee have I tried, she has Greek blood, Dimitra and cricket are not natural companions. So when you met this dashing cricketer with his square jaw and his ability to see off attacks effortlessly, was there already a deep love of cricket, or did you have to learn to love it?
No, I actually did enjoy cricket. Maybe love is not quite the right word, but I did enjoy it. I enjoyed sitting on the banks of Newlands in Castle Corner. I loved the experience of being at the grounds. Did I sit through 5 days on watching it on TV at home? Probably not. But then I don't think I did that when I was married either. So 5 days feels very long these days when you're so used to this T20 competition that's running around the world, But yeah, listen, I love sport. We are actually quite a big sporting family. We're a big active family. So love rugby, love cricket. Now we've got a surfer in the house, a couple of surfers in the house since moving to Cape Town. Neil's given up golf. Now he surfs. It's like life is good. Life is good in the Cape. We're very, very happy. And I came here for a little visit just to see you.
As you should. All right. Maybe there's hope for Dee in cricket, but actually, no, there's no hope whatsoever. You do speak with great fondness about the family, and you've obviously got your sister Trace, who I know well, but there's the three sisters, there's the broader family. I also thought there were 4 sisters, and I discovered that was your mum, who's also ridiculously youthful. But that's been that other core, keeping you as grounded and down to earth as you are, because it is the kind of family where they'll support you 100%, but get a bit big for those stilettos, and they will call you out very quickly.
Yes, absolutely. Listen, I mean, my family I've obviously got Tracy and Cindy is my baby sister, and all married, beautiful husbands. My folks are still happily married and living their best life and doing travels, and I mean, they really are. We're a bit of an anomaly, I think, our family. We actually all really do love each other and get along and enjoy spending time together. And so you're absolutely right. They are the first ones who will call you out if you need a little wake-up call, but they're also the first ones there to have your back if you need them. So I have a very special family who I love very, very much. So I'm very blessed.
As you should.
Yeah.
I know most of them, including your very badly behaved cousin, and they are a great collection.
Exactly.
As we wrap up, it's often fascinating to me with people who've achieved so much in their particular space to get their perspective on successful moments. You have a Rugby World Cup winner and you automatically assume, well, it's the day I lifted the Rugby World Cup. And those are certainly moments that they will readily say were right up there. But there are others that perhaps for us on the outside, we don't appreciate the meaning of or the impact of, ones that for you are particularly special, that you look back really fondly and think, that really meant a lot. So from everything you've done, and gee, it is very, very long list of magazine covers and swimsuit editions and catwalks all over the world, is there a shoot, an engagement, a brand relationship, one of those that when you look back think, you know what, that was more than just some business, more than just an exorbitant check. It was something that actually inside gave me a real warm and rewarding feeling.
Wow, you really have asked a question. If I was to consider, I mean, I know I've already mentioned it, but if I was to consider something that was game-changing for me, and I'm going to take my family and family experiences out of it, I think if I'd make this more of a career-based answer, I would say that the Wonder Bra campaign for me was really something that left me with that. I mean, the relationships that I took from that campaign, the brand manager that was on that campaign, I'm still friends with. She's in here in Durbs. You make families, especially in these features or these campaigns where they are long lasting. So from a career perspective, I think the Wonder Bra campaign was something that I'll never forget, and I was well looked after. They took care of me, and made sure that it always worked well for me and that I was always looking my best. And I think when you're young and you're wearing lingerie, you can feel quite vulnerable, I suppose. And I was always surrounded by love and safe people. And I think that was really important, and it stuck with me forever. So, yeah, that's probably
I think in often quite a cold, hard, nasty industry, it's lovely to be able to look back and have that kind of legacy. And it's a legacy that is, of course, being rediscovered by your 17-year-old son's friends as they work out that Luke's mum.
Oh, gosh, shame, bless him. Poor thing.
Oh, dear. Kerry, it's been a delight catching up. I'm going to haul you up to Johannesburg so we can redo my office, attack the cellar.
You let me know.
And try and work on the Greek appreciation for cricket. And thank you. Going back to a dance floor at Billy the Bum's 20-odd years ago with a John Travolta-like performance.
It was awesome. Thanks for having me, Dan. It's always so lovely to see you. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
It is a great pleasure. An old friend in terms of time we've known each other. There's nothing old about her at all,
Thank you.
which is very, very annoying. There's clearly a lot of Botox at work. My very special guest on the Dan Nicholl Show this week, the one and only Kerry McGregor.
You're listening to The Dan Nicholl Show.